Hey, how's it going, brother?
Good, man. How are you? Can you hear me?
I'm great. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can see me clearly?
Yeah, I can see you. Normally I have my microphone, but I'm at work right now, so no microphone.
It's all good. I'm actually on my cell phone right now. I'm trying to switch over to my desktop.
But y'all started without me?
No, that's it.
Uh-huh. Somebody got an echo.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, it's good.
What's going on, gang? How y'all doing?
Gang. You can't sing. Wait, let me.
So please help me understand. So Todd Millionaire Podcast, Charles Oglesby.
He like, which one is which? Who is who? It's like Beyonce and Sasha Fierce.
Oh, that's what it is?
I guess so.
Who's Todd?
It's a long story. Todd is the name of the company, so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's confusing, but we roll with it.
Got you. So, thank you guys for having me. Sorry about the
making time. You know you're a busy guy.
All of us.
Right.
I was breaking some rules, the Sunday rules. So thank y'all for, being a little flexible for me. I appreciate it.
You was like, I ain't gonna never be able to record.
I'm like, man, look, this ain't gonna work. I was like, man, they probably wrote me off.
Nah, he's good. Cool. So let's get started.
Yeah, let's do it. This is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast, episode 122. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, founder and director of the Todd Capital Investment Club, founder of the Todd Acquisitions Club, and also Todd Capital Cuts. Thank you all for tuning in. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American business owners and investors so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they exist. We want people to learn that business and investing are the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. With us today, we have none other than House Buying Brian, Brian and Rigbo, also known as House Buying Brian, all the way from Houston, Texas, right?
Yes, sir. So I'm actually in Beaumont, Texas, but yeah, the majority of our business is in Houston.
Dope, man. So welcome to the show.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm glad we was able to make it work. I'm honored.
So
I'm here too, guys. I know Charles didn't introduce me, but I'm here too.
they can see you. You can be seen.
Most people listen to it like Apple, in the car.
Welcome to the show, Rashauna Scott. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. But yes, so we have none other than House Buying Brian. So let's jump right in because we got a legend on the line today. So for those of you who do not know this guy, get your pads and get your pens ready because I'm sure he's gonna drop some major gems. But before we get there, let's start all the way at the beginning because you was working the 9 to 5 not too long ago. But I guess we can go even before that. Like, what was your upbringing like?
Got you. Okay, so cool. So I actually, my upbringing was a lot like the ideal Poor Dad in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. As far as my father, he has a PhD. My sister is finishing pharmacy school. My younger brother did the Princeton thing, and he graduated at 20. And so it was one of those things where they all, just kind of preached education. Nigerian family, so, from Nigeria, and they were really just big on education. And although, everything wasn't just great growing up, it wasn't bad. So be honest, just kind of had like the super average lifestyle growing up. Middle class, kind of you ask your mama for Jordans and say, you got some Jordan money, kind of normal like that. I actually did the college thing, so I don't have the, slept in the car story, went to college, did the fraternity thing, came out. I was a school teacher for 4 years. I taught high school biology, high school science. And it got depressing really quick. That wasn't the goal. The goal was actually to go to dental school. And I was really going to ride that whole like degree wave thing. And I started teaching for a little bit. I seen some guys in the alternate industry with, like 2-year degrees making, almost 3 times as more than me. And I was like, you know what, maybe I can reach all of my goals financially without going get degree after degree. And so what I started doing is I started kind of searching on the internet for ways to make money. And, you see a lot of things that look kind of gimmicky, spammy. But I kept seeing real estate over and over and over. And I seen it backed in actually articles and books. And I was like, you know what, maybe this real estate thing is the way to go. So that's kind of like the beginning of it. And I just went ahead and gave it a try. And, that's like a short version of how I came up. Probably cut out a lot of details.
What fraternity?
Alpha Phi Alpha.
I had a feeling it was Alpha.
Yeah. The first, the oldest, and the coldest. I'm going to represent.
It's so funny you say back then it was books, because that was what, how long ago?
2014, a little over 5 years.
So it's not that long ago.
No, not at all.
But I love.
That's a lot of time, though.
No, what the point there is that how much education and free information
is out there. Yeah.
Since then, just within the past, like I said, 5 years ago, because it's the same thing for me. 6-7 years ago, it was like seminars, books. It wasn't like this abundance of podcasts. And you
speaking of, kind of to skip over a little episode I had in my life around 2013. Until this date, I probably never read a whole book front to back, like cover. You in school, the books that you were required to read, you kind of do the cliff notes. You kind of, speed read and just kind of, and do what you need to do to pass the test. But in 2013, I kind of was going through, I don't know what I was going through, the social media depression stage where you kind of looking at social media.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, mine was in 2013. And you're looking at social media, you're thinking about what you wanted to become and how it's like, man, you're off track and how other people are doing this and that. And you're like, man, and so I don't know where it came from, maybe a podcast. It was something that was telling me about millionaires and their habits. And one of the things they do is seek education and the things that you can find in the book. I don't know what book it was that I started with, but I'll tell you what I started with. Earl Nightingale. It was called Leading the Field by Earl Nightingale. He's one of the old schools like Jim Rohn. And it was funny how I got my hands on it. But that was really like the law of attraction. After that, man, it just opened my eyes. I stopped caring what anybody was doing on the internet. I deleted Twitter, deleted my whole account. I deleted Instagram, zero. A lot of people say I'm going to get off Instagram and nobody cares. I really did this for me. Facebook is the Illuminati. You can't delete it. So I deactivated it. And for 2 years, Rashauna, I was reading books. And I got so much happy about life. It was almost like I was born again, because I had a clear picture of what I wanted, and everything. And I wasn't swayed by social media. And when I came back, it was kind of like a rebirth. I started sharing what I was doing in my absence, right, which was social media. Which was real estate, because I jumped on that. In the beginning, nobody really cared. It was kind of like, what is Brian talking about nowadays, because before that was fitness. And a bunch of people really wasn't paying attention. Then certain people would pay attention, then it snowballed. So that's really just kind of from there to here in a nutshell what happened. Yeah.
Cool. Well, from there to here, before we get here, so tell us about the first deal, the first transaction, you found out and you discovered real estate. So you started off wholesaling?
Yeah. So actually how I came into it was actually a little different than most people come into it, because it actually wasn't wholesaling. One of my original mentors, locally, he actually was like a creative finance expert. That's what he did. And so when I first was introduced in real estate, I was taught that, hey, our goal is to find motivated sellers in order to do deals. All right. Deals consist of what's considered a deal is, either equity capture or cash flow. And of course, you can dig a little deep as far as cash on cash returns, ROIs, and things like that, cap rate. But basically, we just want to find motivated sellers. And based on their situation, here's all the different ways we can close the transaction. Right. And that's how I was introduced to the game. I wasn't introduced wholesaling. It was weird. And yeah, that's how I was introduced to it. I was introduced to it like everything at once in 2014. Like, hey, if it looks like this, wholesale it. If it looks like this, do this. If it looks like this, we can do this. If you have to borrow money or, leverage other, all right, this is when, you do that, and that's kind of just how it happened.
I think that's dope. I never heard the concept of equity capture. Can you explain what that is?
Meaning just either purchasing a property with a lot of equity in it or purchasing a property to rehab, and enforce value and resell it to, get the equity and cash. Either way, either you purchase a large discount, refinance, take the equity, keep the property, or a fix and flip. It's still equity capture.
So these days, I think people might kind of qualify you or categorize you as a wholesaler, but do you think that you still take that approach of the whatever works, you can find a way?
Yeah, not at all. It's funny because the wholesaling thing, I'll be honest, I didn't know people were doing that big of numbers in wholesaling, because when I came into the game, it wasn't wholesaling. It was really just kind of like, hey, buy rentals, and sometimes you can't buy it. You need to wholesale it. And then I kind of came, I think one of the first people I met that was doing very well was Max Maxwell. We became friends, started talking, and I was like, wow, people really do well just doing wholesaling. Mm-hmm. And then I started to kind of get, pulled into that community of,
right.
And then the spotlight with those guys. But yeah, my whole business model, and thought pattern of investing is like really completely different than normal wholesalers,
right.
Right.
Normal wholesalers, ones that just only wholesale, if that makes sense.
What I love is that not only, you have multiple tools in your tool belt, right? But I also love that even though this is how you got introduced to real estate in 2014 and 2015, that is still your niche today. And I love that so much because you can say, hey, this is my story. This is exactly how I got started. And anybody who follows you knows you are the creative finance or creative investing expert. Like, I slid in the DMs the other day, like, yo, I got a situation. What do you think I should do? This. And, anybody who's been in your trainings, you have, like your 3-deal your 3-offer strategy, right? I'm probably screwing it up, but tell us a little bit about that as a part of your creative investing piece that you do.
Okay. So in a nutshell, I usually always typically approach a seller with a cash offer if it fits for a wholesale deal. Even if I don't wholesale it, if they accept the offer, it might be so low that, I can take it down myself, and we can use hard money and refinance or something like that. But ideally, I'm always approaching with a cash offer. The cash offer is usually going to be fit with the 70% all in, 75, 80%, depending on your market and what the investors are paying in that area, right? So after that, this is what I do.
So give me an example, what those numbers look like in your area.
Okay, so let's see. Property can sell for about $130,000 ARV, so all fixed up. Mm-hmm. So if you update the property, this is just your average property. Let's say the property can sell for around $130,000 all fixed up. All right, 70%, we're around $91,000. It needs about $25,000 worth of work. If you're looking for, let's say, about a $12,000 assignment fee, we need to be somewhere around $45,000 to $55,000 as far as the purchase price.
Got it. All right. Strategy number 2.
Okay. So that doesn't fit. The sellers say, I'll burn it down before I sell it for that much, or no, So, as far as wholesaling, what we could do is we can just, of course, try to handle objections best way possible. or we can just put them in a follow-up sequence and follow back up with them. Maybe life circumstances change and they become motivated in the future. But when you understand multiple exit strategies, you might try to then really dig deep on what the seller needs and what they're trying to accomplish. Because sometimes what they're trying to accomplish, they think the best way to do that is to sell their property for all cash. What we try to do is we separate them from their mortgage, if that makes any sense. And we try to take care of those two separately if possible. So offer two is usually something on the lines of owner financing, some type of seller financing. They own it free and clear. We can give them more money if they give us more time. All right. We maybe take over mortgage payments. We can, offer three is usually going to be something just more long-term. Because some sellers might say, I don't want to be in a deal for 20 years. I'll be dead in 20 years. Right. I've heard sellers say that countless of times. You know, I'm not even going to be around another 20 years or something like that. So offer one is going to be cash. Offer two is going to be something where we may put a little bit of money in their pocket at closing and just structure the deal so that we probably can wholesale it without doing the traditional wholesale where you cash out on them, you cash out and resell. Structure it to where we can gain control kind of temporarily and then bypass the middleman, which is the cash investor. Mm-hmm. Well, the second middleman, because on a wholesale deal, the wholesaler is the middleman. Then they're flipping it to a rehabber, right, which is looking to make a profit, and they're selling it to the people that's running in the house, getting an FHA, a conventional loan, buying it. Yeah, so if we can structure it creatively on the front end, we could bypass the cash buyer, which the person is going to pay ultimately the most for the property is the retail buyer. Because they're usually going to buy it at 100% ARV. Yeah. I mean, yeah, LTV, you know, and they're going to probably put down 3.5% to 5%. Maybe. I love it. But you get what I'm saying. They're buying properties on the MLS for full market value. Right. If you creatively structure it on the front end, you can bypass a cash buyer because now you have ownership or you have equitable interest. Yeah. So it's just kind of advanced strategy for offer two.
I feel like the Brian way, the HBB way is the place I'm trying to get to in my real estate investing career, where you control the deal from point A. So therefore you have any exit strategy that you want.
Exactly.
That's life goals.
I want you to explain hotel because you just kind of went really fast there, and you know we gotta remember to bring it back and break it down. So what is hoteling for those who are just hearing you say that for the first time?
Okay, so most people are familiar with hoteling as you're buying the property at a wholesale price, usually so discounted where you can go ahead and cash the property out. You know, whether with private money, your own money, you know, and so forth, right? Or traditional financing. You cash the property out, then you immediately sell it full retail, not to an investor, full retail, as is, okay? So that's usually wholesaling for most people. So wholesale price, as far as purchase price, acquisition, and the retail, as far as the disposition. For me, wholesaling is usually we're not cashing the property out. Not even with private money. We may control the property. Like we might do short-term owner financing. Owner finance with like a year payoff, you know, or a 6-month payoff, or maybe take over on mortgage payments and then resell, things like that. Gotcha. And I mean, if you want, you can do it like that and put money in it. But a lot of the things we do, we're trying to structure it where we're literally putting no money into it, or just your carpet and paint, like a $5,000 make ready.
Right. So, all right.
How are you finding deals today?
We're doing everything under the sun now. It's 2019, man. We've been doing PPC, been doing very well with that. We've been doing, had a little run with Facebook ads. We stopped for a little bit, but that's cool. Haven't been doing bandit signs for a while. RVMs, we like RVMs. We started text messaging campaigns.
You gotta break down these acronyms for people. The PPC and the RVM.
Yeah, that's wholesaler talk. I did the same thing to my wholesale friends. I was like, wait, what? I don't know all these ABCs and one.
So Google pay-per-click, that's Google AdWords, all right? And we call it PPC, pay-per-click. And what we do, we set up campaigns on Google, and it allows us to bid for certain keywords. So this is considered intent-based trafficking. Intent-based traffic, where someone actually is going into Google search and searching for "we buy houses fast" or "sell my house" or "how to get rid of my house," in terms like that. And if they click on your ad, you get charged for it. Okay. And then you go in there and you filter out non-performing keywords or maybe negative keywords, someone that may have clicked on it intentionally, but they weren't looking for what you are offering, things like that. And you get ranked and so on. So that's Google AdWords.
And then RVM.
RVM is ringless voicemail. Technically, basically the system calls, it dials out multiple different numbers at one time, and it leaves a pre-recorded voicemail on their answer machine.
What do your voicemails sound
like? Basically, real like guy down the street. It's not corporate, that not that it doesn't work, but we find that the guy next door works. Hey, my name is Brian. I might have the wrong number. I was looking to buy a house in your neighborhood. Maybe I got the wrong number. Kind of so long, kind of apologetic and basically like, hey, if you have a house you're looking to sell, someone else, give me a call back. If not, I'm sorry and please disregard this message. It's not like, hey, this is Brian from, Collegiate Corporate Enterprise. We own and manage 2,000 units across the country, and we're looking to buy 10 properties this month in your neighborhood. Please give us, that's corny. Nobody wants to hear that shit. So.
Right. You sound like a bill collector. They hang up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, this is Brian. I'm me and my wife trying to buy 2 houses this year. Even if you bought 10, and that's still, we teach I teach my acquisitions managers that want different type of strategies in their tool belt. I give them that. Some of them like to kind of do their own thing as long as the scores, scoreboard looks good, but I equip them with that. It doesn't matter. Even if you're doing $2 million a year, still, like, sometimes depending on the person, you might want to be the guy that just buys 1 or 2 houses.
Right. You gotta take it all the way back.
You see?
Yeah. And clearly I'm a fan, because I'm about to go back to some of your stories where you are out there with the sellers and y'all becoming best friends. They be telling you about all their problems, their arthritis, they baby mama drama. Like, you and the sellers, y'all become like best friends, and you literally are, like you said, you become like that guy next door.
So it's funny because my strategy is different than most, in the industry as far as when it comes to talking to sellers. It's funny because one of my good friends and business partners on another business, he calls me a soft closer. And that's a little joke. We go back and forth. I'm like, soft closing works, man. Because a lot of people kind of teach the hard close. And the hard close is good depending on the seller. But a lot of times when I talk to the seller, I'm really just trying to figure out what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, build some rapport, make a friend, and I'm going to throw my solution out there. Mm-hmm. And people love it, people love it. And that because what happens is a lot of sellers are really in a position where they're, they might be going through a rough patch. And that's the reason why they're looking to sell their property for quick cash. Right. The last thing they want is some rich guy to come, clean up and get richer off of their rough patch.
Right. Off of their hard-earned years of savings.
Yeah, and so most people aren't listening. So I get excited about that. And you notice with my videos, I spend a lot less time in the field now, but I miss it, because now the acquisitions manager is going on those appointments. But I think that's what I enjoy most about it, just hearing these stories. And man, believe it or not, when you genuinely kind of like try to help people, some of these sellers want you to make money. They'll tell you, hey, I hope you make a lot of money on this deal. I hope it really works out for you.
Yeah, because they know that they're not going to do anything with it. They haven't done anything with it for the last 15, 20 years. And they see you a young guy coming along and you are, you know, have good intentions. And yeah, I've gotten deals that same way, you know. And I had a seller at the closing table call her son like, Charles. Oh, that's so funny. His name was Charles too. She was like, Charles, these young people buying your house. This supposed to be your house, but you ain't want to do nothing. And they just some sweet, good people. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I think it also depends on your personality.
That's true.
And I like the fact that you pointed that out, because a lot of people are intimidated by the word sale or being in a sales position. When essentially, like, yes, we are in a sales business, in a service business, but it's really a helping business, a people business. Right. And I really like your approach.
Yeah. So, you know, and you might miss out on a couple deals, you know, the ones that you maybe need to be a little more aggressive on, but the emotional closes usually give way bigger profit spreads than the logical closes. Because when you go and start breaking down all of the numbers of why your offer is what it is, you almost go so detailed that you're showing exactly how much profit is in it for you and why it makes sense.
That part.
You offer, but you get what I'm saying?
They gonna be like, I might as well keep it for myself. If it's that good of a deal.
You're bringing them the comps. You're reading them all the facts. Why it is, where you need to be at. And that's cool for a seller that needs to be sold like that. But a lot of them, they just want to, there's a pain attached with that property and they need you to resolve that. So if you can emotionally pull that attachment or that pain, you know, for that property out or resolve that, you're good. And that might be $50,000. You never know.
Right.
But don't smoke yourself talking too much if you don't have to. It's kind of one of those things like everybody doesn't need all the facts.
Right.
It never gets better than yes. If they said yes, they're with it. Take that yes before you mess it up.
Love it.
Can you talk about deal number one? What did that look like for you? What did the very first deal look like?
Bro, caught myself trying to be creative, like out the gate. So basically, I was doing an advanced hotel deal. My very first offer. It was funny. I remember it was like yesterday. I was living in an apartment, and you know, the very first thing I was thinking, it was the lead came off of Z Buyer. That was actually like one of those companies that sold leads to people. You know, at the time it was actually Google, you know, type of leads, but now they started to do email drip campaigns to sell their leads. But I called the guy. I knew at $100,000 it was a good deal. I offered him $100,000 cash. I thought he was going to not take it. He said, okay, cool. You know, how long? I instantly got nervous. My palms started sweating. I was walking back and forth in my living room. I was like, all right, so where I'm going to get the $100,000 from? So that's how that went. That deal actually drug on for probably about 3 months. You know, I got it under contract. I got my first contract like 3 weeks after starting, but it took about 3 months because I put it on an MLS. What ended up happening is the buyer's agent came and was like, who are you? You're not on the title. We need to go on title with the actual owner record, which is, you know, normal because they're actually using the FHA loan. It came to closing. I went to pick up my check. The escrow agent was like, who are you? You know? And basically the seller of the property, he was an old school investor. You know, he just respected the hustle. So he actually, before leaving, he actually, outside of the closing table, he actually wrote me a check for $4,800.
Wow.
You know?
That's dope.
So
How do you?
It was supposed to be like $16,000, but you know, I wasn't protected anymore. So that was my first deal.
So what did you do wrong that allowed that to go sideways? And what did you learn from that?
Got you. So, of course, if you're doing a normal wholesale deal, your contract with the seller is protecting your equitable interest, right? And that's what you're assigning to a cash buyer for cash. Well, my buyer was actually a retail buyer that was purchasing my wholesale deal with the FHA loan. Can you do that? Of course you can, but most people don't know how to do it. And at the time, I didn't know how to do it correctly. And so what I did wrong, Charles, is that I stepped out of the deal without payment to let the buyer and the seller get it under contract. And that contract went to escrow company.
Why would you do that?
Huh?
Because he didn't know no better. It was his first deal.
What? Why did I do that?
Right. Yeah.
Because the underwriter is not going to pay for a assignment fee on an FHA HUD.
Yeah.
So I had to get paid another way. And that's not the way to do it. But luckily, I just had a guy who respected the hustle, and he cut me a check. It was funny because he was controlling my money at the time. It was supposed to be $16,000. He said I was supposed to already be closed, so I'm gonna deduct 20% from this when I'm getting. It was weird. So that was my first deal.
Yeah.
Terrible.
You said terrible?
Yeah, it was terrible.
That is not terrible. No. That is an awesome lesson.
Right. I think it's dope because so many people, they want their first deal to be perfect. And so they never do a first deal because they're like, I might make mistakes like Brian did. So they never get to where Brian is now because they're afraid of those mistakes in the beginning. So that's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was the first one.
Yeah. I mean,
what does your first wholesale deal look like, Rashauna?
At least we still paid you.
I know, right? He didn't have to.
He didn't have to.
What you do?
And then you was bold enough to show up to closing, like, what my check?
That was like, it was like absolute rookie mode. I felt, you don't understand, like the look on my face, how stupid I felt when the escrow agent came from the back and was like, and I was like, hey, I was coming to pick up my check from the closing. It just happened. She was like, huh? Who are you? What's your name? She looking at the closing docs like, and I'm just kind of like, hey, Mr. Seller, They hooked me up.
Good thing you caught him before he left the parking lot.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that though.
No, that's good. My first wholesale deal, even though this is not an interview about me, Charles, my first wholesale deal, I made $6,500, and I really didn't have to work for it. It was a referral. One of my clients who I had sold a building to on the realtor side, her aunt needed to get out. And so I had a friend who does a lot of wholesale deals in Chicago who had a really big cash buyers list, got it under contract. I already knew the language. So I just had a conversation, and I knew, so for me, by being a realtor, basically I told her like, well, we can list it, we can go this route. Or, if you're looking for a quick close, she was behind on taxes and she was just looking to get out. I was like, well, we can basically bring in a cash buyer. You can close quick. You don't have to worry about going through like an FHA inspection and all of those things, because the majority of buyers in this area are going to be FHA buyers. And so she was just looking to get out, and I was able to help her out, and I think she moved to Texas.
Fast money,
huh?
Fast money, huh?
Yeah, it was easy. I ain't had to do much work. I was like, and then after I did it, I was like, man, that was easy. Maybe I should look at this wholesaling thing.
It's funny. That's what one of my realtors said. They was like, man, if I would have known this when I became a broker, like I probably would have just been wholesaling the whole time.
Right. But anyway, so that was your first deal. So you learned your lesson. So the next deal after that looked like what?
The next deal actually was a cash deal. I bought my first rental. In 2014, I bought my first rental. The deal was just so great, so cheap. It just made so much sense. But I didn't know anything about what things cost to fix, who to call. I didn't know anything about repairs, none of that. So I actually called up my best friend, who at the moment he had like 6 units, 6 doors. And we went half. And we still own that property today. So we went half, we paid for it cash, and then we basically, went down the middle with the expenses. And that's funny. That was my second deal.
Right. Yeah. So you saved up the money to buy that first rental from your teaching salary. Yeah.
That, and that house that I bought was really cheap.
$4,800.
That house. Guess how much the house was? $8,000.
Nice. Check out at the tax sale?
Nah, it was just I think it was a bandit sign lead. Yeah, I I haven't found a house that cheap, that solid. Probably since then they went up a little bit, but yeah. So yeah, the house was $8,000.
How much work needed?
We put in $4,000 worth of work, so we was all in like $12,000. We rented out for $900 a month, and this to date since 2014, there's only been 2 tenants there, and it's only been vacant for about 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
And that was after that first tenant moved out. So this is the second tenant. They pay $900 a month.
What's the current value on that?
It's one of those. Hey, this is cash flow in the hood right here. So the value on that property is probably around like 60, 55, 60.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Real nice.
Yeah.
Man, cash flow in the hood. It was paid for first year.
That's all I do is cash flow in the hood. So
cash flow in the hood. Because here's the thing, I noticed that, you got to kind of have balance because, the nicer properties and the nicer areas, which I definitely, take those down as well. In my market, we don't really have appreciation, doesn't matter where you're at. It's just kind of like around here, the appreciation isn't crazy. So the rentals I have around here, some are on the nicer end. So as far as the value of the property, right, is more desirable and everything. But of course, cash flow is lower because now the taxes are higher. The rents are higher, but the taxes are higher. You might have a mortgage on those properties. Those properties usually aren't free and clear. They're more so for the long-term play that you definitely have passed all those down in great condition after, I'm no longer here, so I like both. A lot of people kind of like shit on the hood. I'm like, yo, those properties treat me well,
Nice. So what does the current portfolio look like?
So 17 doors. We have really about half of them are owner finance notes. So, I mean, technically, I guess you can't call it a door if you don't hold it anymore. I'm holding a note, but 17 properties, receiving.
Hold on. So you became the bank. You basically acquired it, and now you sell the finance to an end.
Exactly.
I like it.
Exactly. So like half of them are basically normal renters where, they call and tell me, hey, I got a leak, on the toilet, and the rest of them are people that put down large down payments, and I wrapped, I sold it on owner finance, wrapped it, increased the interest rate, increased the principal, so now it's kind of like hands off, AC breaks, don't call me.
Right.
Escrow company handles the payments,
What do you like better? Do you like the seller finance or do you like the actual rentals?
Honestly, I definitely like owner financing. But, it's funny because who was that? Got a name drop. I love her. In Philly. What's your girl?
Aisha.
Yeah, Aisha. So she had a good post or whatever because she reposted what somebody else posting about. They was kind of like talking about how owner finance was the holy grail. And it's funny because I seen her answer was a lot like mine, and kind of try to like why one is better than standard rental. But when you speak in absolutes like that, you miss out on so many opportunities because there's so many exceptions. You can't put absolutes. So when you ask me which one I like better, overall, I would say owner financing. But the reason why I don't just do all owner financing is because you don't own the property, you own the note. Once the property is paid off, first of all, you don't benefit from appreciation no more. The buyer does. Right. Once it's paid off, yes, it might be 30 years of cash flow, and yes, you might have made $100,000, $200,000 worth of interest over the course of 30 years. But once it's paid off, it's gone. It's done. You sold the golden goose.
Right.
And so that's kind of why it's like, hey, kind of do a little mixture of both. Because the benefits is with the selling on owner finance, you could get, $10, $20, $25,000 down. We do it all the time. And so now you could kind of get the best of both worlds. You didn't really wholesale the property, but you got a nice wholesale fee, and you're also going to cash flow over the, term. But you could also pull off the same thing with doing a cash out refi, right?
Right.
Get the cash out, keep the property.
So how are you, so you kind of bounce it around. So how are you typically structuring your owner finance deals? Like if I come to you and I'm interested. and
So, if I own the property free and clear, I'm probably not going to owner finance it to you, but if I own a property free and clear, I'm just going to I'm going to adjust the terms and adjust the interest enough so I can make sure I cash flow at least about $400 a month, anywhere from I'll cash flow $300 a month, depending on what else is, because maybe it's only $300 a month cash flow, but there's a big payday at the end. Let's say $30,000, that's going to come in a few years. But anywhere from $300 to $400 cash flow. Okay. So I would structure the interest rate and the term so I can accomplish that. And of course the taxes and insurance will be on you, and we'll put that in the escrow account.
Mm-hmm. And how do you determine the amount of the down payment?
10% is a standard, but we use a real advanced strategy where we almost let people bid. How we structure the voicemails and the incoming applicants, we basically, it's almost or best down payment, or best offer, because instead of telling them how much we want down, we ask them how much they have to work with. Because we might say we want $10,000 down, but they might be willing to put $20,000 to be a homeowner. Hey, I just talked myself out of $10K. So I'm going to let you, it's the same thing as buying a house. When you're selling it, I'm going to let you say the first number, So instead of saying, hey, I want $10,000 down, 8% interest rate, we'll just say, hey, leave the down payment you have to work with, and you'll be surprised. You'll hit $20,000 down, $15,000 down, $25,000 down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since you shot off a number, now I can rearrange the principal amount and the interest rate to fix what you said you have to work with.
Right. Makes sense.
It makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. What do you think, John?
I like the creativity. I like that it allows you to kind of create the world that you want, as opposed to just saying, oh, well, this is what people have already been doing. This is what I'm going to do. It's like you get to create your own world, which is what entrepreneurship is in general. I like it.
Yeah. So does this strategy, so I know you teach what do you call it? Is it the 3 offer strategy?
Yeah, multiple offer strategy. Yeah. So, and come back around to that. So that's crystal clear. The first offer is usually a wholesale offer. First of all, before we even get to my offers, I'm going to give you your options. All right. And so I'm going to ask you, why don't you fix the property up and listen with the realtor? Knowing that most of the time the reason you're reaching out to me, because you're probably not in a position to fix it up and listen with the realtor, Right. But I want to throw that in the air so you can cancel it out yourself. Okay. Because I don't want to sell anybody, because usually telling is not selling. When you tell somebody's blue, they say it's black. So I'm going to say, why don't you list it with the realtor? They might say, I don't want to do no realtor. Okay. Right. Have you ever considered renting it? I don't want to deal with no landlords. Tenants, they tear yourself up. So now I've probably presented 2 options and you canceled them out. Then I might say, well, Mr. Sally, it's not a bad property. Have you considered keeping it? Oh, no, we got to sell. So far I've created a framework. It's kind of like, you remember tic-tac-toe? Mm-hmm. Where you want them to go first, because if they do this, you got them.
Right.
So I'll give them those 3 options. They'll mark all those 3 options out. And now I'll present my offer. The first is going to be cash. The second is going to be structured in a way on the front end, so I could bypass and wholesale the deal. And the third is going to be where the seller offers me long-term financing without me having to go to the bank. They basically, let me carry a note for 20, 30 years.
And so on those are going to be the ones that you turn around and rent out, obviously, because you can't do notes on it.
Yeah, you can. You sell it on a wraparound mortgage. So I'm not sure what it is out there. I do know what it's. In a lot of other states, you guys can do contract for deeds.
Okay.
And that's basically like an executory contract, basically like buying a house on layaway. It's right. Where the deed is held in escrow until the final payment is made. And instead of a normal transaction where the deed is conveyed at closing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing with owner finance, but owner finance, the deed is conveyed at closing, but the lien is not lifted off the property until all of the payments are complete.
Right. I like it.
Yeah, so we'll sell if we have a mortgage on the property, yes, we definitely could sell with on a wraparound mortgage. The title company will close the transaction as a warranty deed with a vendor's lien. And they'll also have a deed of trust with the promissory note. And so now we'll be second lien holders. The first lien holder is, whoever the lender is on, our bank or the seller's bank. And then we'll be the second note holder because we'll create another mortgage.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not that fancy.
One day.
No, but did it make sense though, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Because you still have to make the payments to your mortgagor, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Absolutely. They're the first lien holder. If they don't get paid, everybody gets wiped out.
Right.
It's like property taxes. That's why lenders require you to escrow it, right? Because they know that they got precedence over everybody.
And then since you have a second lien, they can't sell it without you getting paid as long as there's equity.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like it because you don't give people a yes or no. You say, pick which one.
Yeah, picture. Yeah, because I could go open a vegan restaurant and, most people like, man, shit, I want my beef. So if you have more options, you're going to be able to cater to more sellers, period. Right.
Right.
And so how we kind of, look at it is cast a big net for marketing. All right. So all different type of leads come through your pipeline. And depending on what it looks like, the situation, you decide what's the best exit strategy.
It's like the same thing you started out doing. It just
I'm doing the exact same thing. Just now I got a team behind me. That's it.
That's dope.
I like it because it makes it easier. I felt like when I was just wholesaling, it relied so much on me beating my competition or being better than my competition. Hustling my competition, being better at marketing than my competition. Now it's not really like that. It's kind of like, because my competition will walk past a deal that I would make a lot of money on, or a deal they'll go to a seller and offer them a certain amount, and then I'll talk to them later and they say, yeah, they just offered me this for my house. And I'm looking at them like, hey, Mr. Seller, what if I could do this?
Right.
Would this solve your problem? Would this make sense for you? Or would that be fair? And they'd be like, yeah, I mean, I'm actually getting more money.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's do it, Mr. Seller.
Right.
Then they give you a video testimony. So.
Right. Because you are giving them more options, and people like options.
And it's scary. Creative strategy is scary because, yes, there's more paperwork involved. Yes, you do some, you do it wrong with the wrong people. That's an easy way to get a lawsuit. But one of my favorite quotes, I need to make a shirt, is paperwork makes the paperwork. You're dealing with people and paperwork, So just make sure you have the right contract, in place, the right paperwork. You dot your I's, cross your T's, and you're okay, and know how to handle sellers.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So these are obviously advanced strategies. So are you doing like major rehabs out there?
Rashauna, I done one rehab in my life.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
It was the worst experience of my life. It was bad, I didn't lose any money, but I got money trapped in the house. Mm-hmm. We got like $80,000 trapped in the house right now, but it's cool because we're cash flowing $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the payments, taxes, insurance, everything is $1,500 a month. They're paying $2,500 a month. Mm-hmm. So, but we weren't. That wasn't the intentions. We bought it for a fix and flip.
And you couldn't sell it.
Couldn't sell it. I learned a lot of things that first rehab, and I wouldn't say the last, but yeah. So we went with a cheap contractor, and thinking, oh man, more room. And then when all the realtors started to show the property, the market feedback was just the craftsmanship wasn't that well. I mean, it was just kind of like, and so when people starting to pay in $250,000 for a house, they want stuff to be done right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it didn't appeal to someone that has worked to get good credit. They have a down payment and they want to get a loan, but it did appeal to people that want to stay in a very, very nice neighborhood and they can owner finance. So that's what we had to do that one.
You can't refi that?
We did refi.
Okay. But you still have $80,000 stuck in it.
Yeah. So we probably messed with the wrong lender. like how we did it. Because what we did a rate and term refi. We didn't do a cash out refi. It was a real conservative bank, and they just, I don't know.
Never even heard of it. Everybody talks about cash out refis, but nobody's ever talked about rate.
A rate and term refi? Yeah. Yeah, so the cash out refi is very popular amongst like the burst strategy. It's a component in the burst strategy, which you guys know, right?
Yeah, but our listeners might not.
Okay. So the burst strategy is when you purchase a property with enough equity, so much equity that after you repair it, you put a tenant in it and rent it. You go to the bank. Now that it's rented, it's making money, and you refinance and get anywhere from 70% to 80% of the total, value of the property. So let's say you bought it like 50% ARV, all in 40%. You get up to 70%. So if you bought it cheap enough, you could actually leave the closing table with a check. I'm sure a lot of people better at explaining it, but that's basically it in a nutshell. Rate and term refinance is when they just take your current, let's say you're in a 12-month interest on a loan. They just basically finance what your balance. They just refinance the balance.
What you finance.
Refinance what you finance. Yeah.
So they give you a lower interest rate. So your payment goes down.
If you're in short term, they'll stretch it out. Longer term, yeah. A normal person's loan. They basically give you a normal.
Why did you do that?
Do what?
What, instead of a cash out refi?
Yeah.
Tom, we was on some look. Just stop the bleeding now. Because what was happening is we didn't lose any money. The deal we ended up making about $40,000 when we expected to make like $100. The deal was that the longer we waited, the profit, just because it's an interest only loan, it was like she was like, bro, just on to the next, So
what did you learn from that one? What did you learn from that deal?
You get what you pay for.
So
a couple of things.
Find that contractor.
You get what you pay for, and you have to manage. You really have to manage like contractors, Right. So just don't try to skimp on contractors. Oh, the biggest takeaway is with hard money. If you're going to use hard money, which I don't even think I would ever use, it doesn't make sense anymore because now we got private money. But with hard money, man, speed. You need to be in and out. That's probably number one. Number one was speed. And if you're using hard money, you need to be really, really quick because it could, your profits could like disappear like like that.
How'd you find this contract?
A friend of a friend.
So they were a referral. And then had you seen their work before?
On pictures, yeah.
Okay.
But that's catfish, like
That's catfish.
Because things just look different on pictures sometimes. Because if I give you a link and you look at the picture, you're gonna be like, man, that was beautiful. You go on the inside, you're gonna
Oh, happens all the
time. You always get catfish.
Real good.
You looking at your clients like, I'm sorry, like it was.
No, I look at them before we go see it. Like, it's gorgeous. I be like, don't get your hopes up.
We shall see.
Right. So that's interesting. So with the properties that you're going in and you're finding and you are renting out or you're doing like a lease option, you are strategically going after properties that don't need a whole lot of work.
So I only go after motivated sellers.
Okay.
And when it comes to doing something creative, I'm going for properties that are habitable. Okay. So I don't go over a specific type of property. We go for motivated sellers. That's the target. The target is motivated sellers.
Right.
That's the target. And it comes through motivated sellers come through a funnel.
Right.
And based on the property, we determine in the situation, what the exit strategy is. And one key thing, if that property is habitable, now, it just turned on a green light for other possible strategy. Because if the property is habitable, now we can use OPM. other people's money. We can leverage a tenant. We can leverage an owner finance buyer that wants a property that needs TLC, because we could technically buy it and then sell it and market it as owner finance fixer-upper.
Yeah.
Owner finance fixer-upper, someone that, you know, this might be a owner-occupied buyer, though, you know, that like, hey, you know, I can't get approved from the bank, but hey, I'm willing to put $20,000 down and you know, property up as we go.
A lot of people, when they're looking for deals, they're looking for a distressed property. And that's how they kind of determine if there's a deal there. It seems like you bypass that and just say, if I can find a motivated seller, even if the property, like we think the two go hand in hand. We think that motivated seller equals distressed property.
Man, y'all should have seen the last like 3 properties out of, well, not 3 properties. The last, like 2 out of the last 3 properties I done bought were nicer than my house, than my personal residence. I was like, there's some nice houses. So the only time we target a distressed property is driving for dollars.
Okay.
Other than that, we're targeting pain points.
Right.
We're targeting financial distress, you know, maybe tax delinquent, maybe pre-foreclosure, maybe post-divorce, maybe code violation. You know, well, that's a property distress, but usually it's more so financial.
Like it.
Or personal problems that may lead to just motivation.
Right. It seems like it's a cleaner deal that way.
Yeah, man. And if you get somebody really motivated with a nice house, but they're really motivated and they don't have time to wait for an inspection, appraisal, you know, the realtor to come with multiple showings, clean the house up, you know, they've suggested you fix that and fix that because it show better. If they're just really motivated and they got a really nice house, I'm telling you, man, you're in for a sweet deal. You're in for a deal that you could probably pick up for, you know, a few $100 out of your pocket, maybe $1,000 out of your pocket. If you structure it right, you can get closing costs funded, you know, by whoever's on the back end. And now you have a really nice house.
Right.
Nice. So what was your most profitable deal? Most profitable.
So I haven't hit the 6-figure club. I haven't done a 6-figure deal yet, but the biggest deal. All right. So there's 2 different ways we could cut that. So profit cash at closing, $41,000. As far as how much a property will profit over a life term, $165.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Well, shoot, no, like $180, $185. Huh?
That puts you in the 6-figure club.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because cash flow adds up.
There's levels to this.
I like it. Cash flow adds up.
You know? And so if you acquired a deal and you literally, you know, became the owner of a property and you paid, let's say, $3,000 down, but then within a few weeks you got $10,000 down, and now you made $7,000, right?
Right. In
the green, but that property is going to make you, let's say, I don't know, $10,000 a year. I mean, those next 20 years, it is going to make you that money. They count.
Right. They count. I like it.
So
that $41,000 deal was a pretty sweet deal. How I did that, though, Rashauna.
You said the $41,000?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Can we break that down?
How was it? So cool.
It was pretty cool. So I went to the seller, and the seller said, look, this company called We Buy Ugly Houses. You heard of them? Home Investors? You've heard of them?
I've heard of Home Investors.
Yeah, definitely.
We Buy Ugly Houses? Yeah, they said they came and offered me $115. You know, we want to sell, but we're not desperate. We're not going to give it away. Okay. All right, Mr. Seller. So the thing was, and here's the thing, everybody thinks that a motivated seller needs to be in financial distress or their money needs to be like really messed up. But they just clearly told me and say, look, we're retired. We just really want to travel the world, but, you know, we want a fair price for our home. We don't just want to give it away, you know, and we really don't want to have to do anything with the realtor. So I was like, okay. So they didn't really need the money, but they just want convenience. So I said, okay. When I calculated my offer was really right around the same thing, like 118. So what I did, since they own the property free and clear, I told them, what if I was, because I knew that it was going to take, this was one of those deals for a wholesale deal that didn't fit. It was probably going to be like $40,000 to fix up. But I knew as is, it's one of those properties with carpet in the bathroom, wallpaper everywhere, like super dated. But I knew it was in a very good neighborhood. I knew as is, that property will sell for like 160. As is, on the market with the realtor. Mm-hmm. So what I told the seller is, what if I was to give you $10,000 now and then the remaining balance paid off in 6 months? Would that work for you? Because I knew my comps. I ran my numbers. I knew that the property would sell for 160. So I ended up giving them $10,000 at closing. We closed. I became the owner, right? Called up my realtor, put it on the market. I probably spent like $400 to pressure wash the driveway and put some mulch, around. The property had a pool. We basically went over there every weekend and threw pool parties until the property sold. We got the second day, we got six over asking price offers. Wow. And we took an offer at 178 and put it on the market at like 165 or something like that. So made 141. And so the thing about it was how I structured it is they still owed like $30,000 on the mortgage. I lied. It wasn't free and clear. They owed $30,000 on the mortgage. Tell me, is this crazy? So the subject to thing, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to be able to owner finance it. So they actually paid off the remaining balance. They took $30,000, paid off the remaining balance, right? So the title company ordered the payoff. They paid $30,000 just so we could do the owner finance deal for, wow. That period of time. Wow. So I called them in 2 months. In 2 months, I had a buyer. I didn't have to do all the assignment or memorandum agreement because I was the owner. I sold to a conventional buyer, so we didn't have to worry about the FHA flip, the flip rule, the anti-flip rule. Yeah. 6 months for title season, and so it was good. $41,000. I actually paid my my real estate agent for that deal. I actually did a flat fee, right, initially, but when I got that offer, I was so happy. I was just like, look, you take the whole 6%. Right. It was like everybody eat.
Everybody. I don't take care of
still walked away with $41,000. That was just last year. That was last year.
That is awesome. I think that the sellers, I think they was testing you. I think they wanted to see if you could pull it off. I think they wanted to see that. And for two, I mean, they like, okay, pay off this $30,000 or
so zero
pay off this $30,000 or make what was it? 100 and what did you? So you were under contract. You bought the house for 130. 130.
I gave them $10,000 up front, and 120 was due in 6 months with zero interest and zero payments because the property is free and clear. I just had to insure it. So I really had 6 months of a nice house with a pool. Just kind of like chilling over there because usually most people during that time, they'll be fixing it up and managing contractors.
Right.
That right there is like a classic hotel deal right there. That's my definition of a hotel deal. But it could have been even better if I would have structured in a way that I didn't put anything out of my pocket. But it was
the video guy over there? You should have made a movie off of that one.
I know, man. It was cool.
That is cool. That's that.
He's like, hey, you want to go over to the spot this weekend and barbecue?
Spot.
Yeah, the spot.
Yeah.
Like, damn, man, the buyer's gonna be closing in like 3 weeks, man. Y'all want to? I think we could fit in one more party, pool party.
Right. Pretty soon they gonna want to do their final walkthrough. We gotta clean up.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty epic.
That is dope. So you looking for another one of them? Another motivated seller? I mean, like that. Because you don't go after the deal.
Right.
I like motivated sellers that are flexible. And in the world of wholesaling, you look for motivated sellers who have equity. We don't need a lot of equity to make a great deal happen. Equity is great. Huh?
So those are bars right there.
Yeah. Equity is great. But my formula is motivation and flexibility, not motivation and equity.
Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
How many t-shirts we got after this podcast?
A lot.
We got motivation and equity.
Shirts and memes.
Yeah, shirts and memes. Charles probably already been tweeting.
What? Oh,
We got
paperwork makes the paperwork.
And then there was another one, cash flow something. What was it?
Oh man, cash flow adds up or something like that.
The cash flow adds up.
He said shirts and memes. I told Charles gonna do the memes. I just want a shirt, okay? Yeah. I want the soft material one, V-neck, okay?
So 5 years, you hit me with these serious questions. Honestly, Charles, I see myself just impacting and teaching more people to do what I've done and I'm doing. Because real estate investing is one of those things that changes your life. When you start to figure out, and you guys probably have other businesses, but real estate, there's many people that they have never cashed a check outside of clocking in or going to work. And when you invest in real estate, and even if you get your first rental payment or mortgage payment that nets you $400 a month, you look at it different. It's different. Just like the first time you do your first wholesale deal and you cash a check $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, right? Or $4,800 in my instance. It changes you because now you're like, wow, I can do this. I don't have to go clock in or work for someone else to get paid. I have a skill set that allows me to create value, bring value to the marketplace and get paid for it. And so that just kind of opens your eyes. For me, I just want to continue to make people get that little, that realization, that happy moment of cash flow, passive income, checks and buy more property. That's it, and hopefully have some children where I can teach them exactly what I learned late in life so they can get a leg up. Right. Because education is powerful. If you knew better, you do better.
It is. I'm looking at Charles. I think he want to wrap up. But before we go there, you just reminded me when you said clocking out. So, how long ago were you working your 9 to 5?
9 to 5. It's probably about 7 months ago.
7 months ago. So, walking away, what did that look like? What did that feel like? Like, is this the teaching job or is this another job?
No, Rashauna, I walked away from a 6-figure job, making like 120.
That's
anywhere from
yeah.
Yeah,
I saw a video, okay?
Like 130 a year.
I saw the video where you threw the uniform in the garbage.
Fortune 3 company, ExxonMobil.
Right. I knew something. Okay, so tell us about that whole situation.
So, great job. I have no negative things to say about that company. Excellent job. Excellent. They treat their companies good. Great everything. 401k benefits. It took a lot, Rashauna, because I worked a lot of overtime. It was a job that required a lot of your time. And I just started to miss out on a lot of life because it was one of those things almost like a hospital. We're never closed. So over the years, I missed a lot of Thanksgivings. I missed Christmases. I missed birthday parties. I missed, anniversaries. I missed a lot of things. And eventually it came to the point where it was like, you know what? This real estate thing, maybe I should take it a little more serious. And that's when I started getting a little more aggressive about acquiring real estate. And then when I started looking at the net, like what was bringing home from the 9 to 5 after all of the taxes are taken out, all of the fees. And I was like, yo, I'm catching up, with the passive income. And then I just kind of buckled down and I got to the point where I was making the same amount as far as, take home from the real estate. And also I kind of had a few other irons in the fire and I left, And then another thing that kind of had a big push on it, I felt so different than my coworkers. I didn't fit in anymore. I was there, but I wasn't there, and once you do that, I think it's time for you to leave in any type of relationship. This is a relationship with the company, right? But any type of relationship, when you're actually just going through the motions, but you're emotionally checked out, it's time to dissolve that relationship. And so I was basically at meetings, right? And where big bosses, high second line bosses, and I'm in the meeting and everybody's paying attention. And I'm trying to look for, I'm texting my escrow officer. I'm texting a seller. Or I'm setting up, hey, Mr. Seller, I'll be there at 6 o'clock when I get off of work. and it's great. So I remember me and Rashauna, I hopped on one of their lives trolling, talking about the job thing, and she jumped on me because the advice she was giving is, hey, why don't you keep your job as long as you can, because you can leverage it, which you can. It's way easier to get a loan when you have a W-2 income and all that. I don't want to ramble on about that, but and I feel like if you like your job and everything's cool, and you can do both, do both. But I got to the point where I wasn't, I just needed to leave.
Yeah.
So that's my my transition, because everybody's different. Some people, kind of enjoy doing both. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore,
Yeah.
And so it was really a really good move, So I was like, if I'm staying for the money, I can make money other places, which turned out well. So that's the reason I left.
But I think that's so powerful, because so many people don't follow how they feel, right? They stay for so many reasons, but like you said, inside you're feeling empty. And I don't know if I left my 9 to 5. I don't know if you know.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
you better giving that advice.
Yeah. No, I did, but
oh, you left it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said I love my 9 to 5. Okay.
No, I left.
With the Sharks now, yo?
Yeah. I've been out here for a little bit. And so, but yeah, no, even me starting out and going back to my 9 to 5, because my situation is a little bit different. Like, I was off work for about a year and a half and did some things in real estate, worked with some partners. That didn't work out. I was like, forget this. I'm going back to work. But when I went back, I knew that it was temporary. So from the beginning, I was checked out, but I kind of tried to fit in, right? But towards the end, probably the last 6 months, completely checked out. I mean, there was like a summer picnic coming up, and everybody's like, what dish you bringing? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, everybody's excited, planning it, talking about it, like, and I didn't fit in from the beginning. I mean, because at lunchtime they talking about, well, first of all, I wasn't even going to lunch because I was going to closings. I was on the phone with the title company and the attorneys and stuff, right? So I wasn't even going to lunch, but literally, like, in the cubicles, literally, I called it the Ratchet News Network, because whatever night Power came on, and whatever night what's the other ones, whatever, right? All them other shows. The very next day, it never failed. 8 o'clock in the morning, first thing in the morning, we talking about who was fighting, who was throwing their drinks, who did this, who slept with who, and all this and that. And just hearing it, I was just like, yo, this is not me. I don't fit in. I don't even know what they talking about half the time.
You don't even care. Yeah.
I don't even care. Like, where's my check? What time is closing? What time I need to be there? So yes, if you are listening to this and you are still working 9 to 5, absolutely, use it to leverage it and have a plan.
Nothing wrong with the job. Nothing wrong with a job at all.
Have a plan. I'm gonna say have a plan. I'm gonna say no. If you love it, do your thing, right?
Just follow your gut. Put like this. At the end of the day,
I think that's the people that we're talking to, because if you don't love it, there's so many people who stay who don't, and then they get miserable, right?
And they feel like they have to, yeah. So follow your heart.
And then they turn into our
But it seems like you guys ramped up to the point where you already had things going outside.
Like it was an easier transition.
Right. You're not starting from zero.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did it the scary way. It's all good. Some people just cannonball, and some people dip their toe in. I was like, bro, look, I need this passive bag to be right here.
It's the smart way, okay?
And then I'll jump out this plane.
So many people are like, have 6 months of savings and then you can quit. That is a lie. That is a whole lie. I had a year and a half worth of savings, 18 months, and my lifestyle did not change. And then I was like, oh, I need to go.
Because you're still kind of technically at zero if you have no income coming in. So it's like, just because you have money stashed doesn't mean that you have cash flow coming in. And so I think that's why, like, people who are listening to this, the goal is to get that passive income coming in, get that other source of revenue coming in. So when you do step out, it's not a struggle. You're not over here second guessing, worry about if you should go back to the job.
Right. Absolutely. If your goal is to step out, ain't no chilling. Ain't no free time. Ain't no downtime, because you working and giving so much of your time away to somebody else that if you are serious about building something, then the time that you have to yourself, that's the time that you need to be investing in your future.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wrap up questions really quick. Who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Ooh, who is somebody that I look up to? Ouch.
You can say me. It's okay.
Man, Jim Rohn, although he's gone, he's not with us anymore, but man, his works and his books and his audios probably was one of the most impactful things in my life. I just like his style, I like his delivery, I like everything he teaches. But that was probably out of anybody, really, because he wasn't even a real estate guy, really. But I would say Jim Rohn. The works of Jim Rohn. Really inspirational and powerful to me, for sure.
What do you think sets apart successful investors and wholesalers from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Mindset. It's just whatever that background, noise is telling you in your head. Some people's background, inner voice is telling them, you could do this, let's kill it. Some is telling them, that, you're not worthy, you're not there yet. So it's really just your mindset, just repeat it, what you repeatedly tell yourself, every day. Some people it's destructive, and some people it's like an engine, it actually propels them to success. So I think what you consistently tell yourself on a daily basis is what, your mindset, determines success from failure. That's what I think.
What's your favorite business book?
Business book. It's probably going to be Traction right now. It's probably going to be Traction.
I like it.
Gino Wickman. That's probably number one right now.
And what does wealth mean to you?
Oh, look at you. Look at you.
What does wealth mean to me? I think, so God, family, health. God, family, health. I feel that's the wealth trinity, so being able to do what you want to do with, with the people you want to do it with, and be in good health. That's wealth to me. The freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it with no ailments or bodily disease. That's wealth to me. Yeah.
I like it. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they follow you, and where can they participate in any upcoming courses or classes or any products that you have going on?
Oh, I'm most active on Instagram. So House Buying Brian with the I, on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube as well, Brian Ericka, on YouTube. And that's really like the only things I probably really active on. I'm on Facebook as well, first and last name, Brian Ericka.
Can you spell your last name?
IREGBU. IREGBU.
Oh, we got it. Now, just for the people who are listening and not watching.
Any parting words, RS?
Thank you so much for coming on this interview. I'm gonna go back and listen to it.
Me too.
I told y'all at the beginning, get your notepad and your pens.
Hopefully I gave something of wisdom to some, body.
You definitely did. You gave it to all of us. I would say definitely myself and Charles, and everybody listening on here. You definitely did. So we appreciate you. Thank you for making the time out of your busy schedule to come and drop some bars. And I'll send you my P.O. box where you can send my shirt. So yeah.
Will do. Well, thank y'all. So what do y'all normally post to y'all's podcast?
So thanks for coming. Bye.
Oh, this is episode number 122. My name is Charles Oglesby. Check us out at Todd Investments. Also follow Rashauna Scott at Rashauna Scott. Follow Brian at House Buying Brian. Episode 122. Signing off.
We out.